access it. That'd be fine.
Great.
George here. Question. I couldn't find the webex.com activated, so I got on the phone instead.
Oh, really? So it's so you couldn't reach the mpwmd.webex.com?
Well, I got a website, and then I clicked on it. It said there's no meeting. It's been canceled.
That would be wrong. And who do we have as call-in user 5, 6, and 8?
That's me, Dave John Lear. I'm having the same issue of trying to click on the URL that was associated with the WebEx meeting on our portal. And this meeting has been canceled or ended message.
Really? Well, I wonder if it was the link to the Water Demand Committee from last Thursday, inadvertently.
Maureen's on.
Hello all, this is Dave Laredo.
Yeah, we see you, Dave.
Okay.
Maureen, you were just talking, or you must be user 6.
This is Mary, and I'm on by telephone.
If you use the link that was in the board packet, it worked. So I don't know if the number is different from wherever you're getting it.
I had it.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they got sent the link from a different meeting inadvertently, because they all look the same. They're just a big old green dot. So, but George, you can go ahead and get.
Well, I can't see anything. See anybody? All I can do is listen.
George,
Okay.
try going back out to the link that was in the board packet.
Well, I don't have a link. It was typed in. It wasn't as a link form that I can't just click on it and it shows anything. I've got to type it in.
Right.
I type it or cut and paste, and I get the same thing that John Lear got. The meeting's been canceled or postponed or something. It's just one line.
Okay.
I got something quite different. Mine says that the Cisco WebEx no longer supports my browser version, and I had to update the current browser to a supported version or switch to a supported browser, and I didn't want to take the time to do that, so I'm just calling.
Right. Yep. That's so. Is your other machine a Mac or PC?
Yes, it's a MacBook Air.
Yep. That seems to be a recurring problem.
Okay. Well,
I'm on a Mac.
Can we call a meeting to order and try to go through this?
Great.
Or we still sort out some of the procedures?
No, we're all good. We have just a quick rundown. Those of you who can see the screen, many of you can't, I guess, right now. This is Dave. I'm MPWMD staff. Alvin Edwards. Yeah. Go ahead.
Let me stop you and call to order and then go through who's there. Just so it's for the record. All right.
Yep.
I'll call the meeting to order. 4:05. And then Dave, could you report what you can on who's connected?
Yeah. So myself is MPWMD staff on the screen. Director Edwards is participating as a member of the audience. Looks like Catherine Stedman, is that you as coming up with the old name of Bowie?
Yep, that's me.
George, you are on, for those of you who are looking at the screen, you're user 4. John Lear is user 5. I believe Mary Adams is user 6. and Maureen is user 8. Dave Lindau from Project Management of Pure Water Monterey is on. Dave Laredo is on. There's Maureen Hamilton down there. So I've lost somebody. Tim O'Halloran, are you still on? Yes, Tim's on. Arlene Tabani is on. Molly Evans is on.
Okay, thank you for that. What I'd like to do is just go through kind of the protocols here. Our online meeting, phone and video. It's a meeting that will be conducted as best we can to make sure public participation happens and all those and then the discussion takes place. So we would start with comments. Well, no, first call to order and attendance of the committee, please. I understand, Molly, you're here, Mary, you're here. So attendance is complete. So we'll start the meeting. First, I'd like to ask that comments from the public be made, and so make your comments as you choose on any subject not on the agenda. Limit to 3 minutes, please. Comments from the I'll just give them that people have to click mute in order to get activated. So this will just be a pause. Okay, not hearing any indication that the public has a comment. We'll go to the action. Number 1 is consider adoption of the March 2nd meeting minutes. Are there any comments from the committee?
No, but I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Is there moved and seconded? Any comments? Any further comments on the motion? Do I for public comments at this point? I think I do. Any comments from the public on the minutes? Okay. No public comments. Back to the board. All in favor of the adopt the minutes? Aye.
Alvin, this has to be a roll call.
Oh, roll call.
Because of the method.
Okay, please call the roll.
Director Evans?
Yes.
Director Adams?
Yes.
Director Riley?
Yes. Motion passed 3. Second item on the agenda is consider contract with Pueblo Water Resources to complete port preparation to enroll the Fall River Aquifer Storage Project in State Water 2012-001-6EWQ. An action item.
Yes, can you?
By the committee members. Maybe I'll ask by name so we can go that way. So, Molly, do you have any comments or questions at this point? No comments. Questions. I'm sorry. Questions.
Do I have any questions on this item?
Would you like to hear anything from John Lear, or is it relatively clear? They're moving us out of one permit regime to another.
Yeah,
No,
I did
I'm
have
sorry.
one question. I'm sorry, I'm working my other screen here to pull up notes. Was this noted somewhere as being reimbursable, but then it does have a cost estimate on it? Is it reimbursable or does it have a cost?
Do you want me to answer that, Dave?
Yes, please.
Okay. Yes, Molly, it does have a cost item associated with it because in order to enroll into the program, there'll be an application fee and an annual fee in order to participate in the program. And this program is specifically for injecting of treated drinking water. And there is required a technical report with very specific requirements to submit that, to which we are going to have Pueblo Water Resources prepare that report, that's prepared once and submitted with your application and is accepted, and then you are enrolled, and then each year you pay a fee. But because of paying of this fee and enrolling it and into this program is part of the cost of making of the water, it's covered within the ASR operations agreement with CAM as a reimbursable expense.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Just backing up briefly, Dave, could you or Jonathan, any more of an overview other than question? Another point to be made here.
Sure. Is it just an overview of how we got to this point? Is that what you're asking for?
More to the implication of this renewal or this report preparation. What's the implication of the report?
The implication of, so we were, just kind of the history of this is we came around with this program prior to this general order being signed into place. And we had a same regulator that had regulated us from the regional board all through the development of the project. He has since been promoted and our project came onto someone else's desk, and they said this should really be over here. And so we're working with them. The reporting we did previously was a once a year fairly thorough report, which is the report that you see once a year as an informational item on the operations of the ASR project, and that is due in July of every year. However, the implications to the actual reporting will be a different list of constituents. Maybe it's, I'm going to pare the list down slightly. It's more related, not specifically to the project that was developed as we developed our ASR project, and more related to having the project and how it affects the water quality plans for the coastal region. So that the regional board has a water quality plan, and we want to make sure that the monitoring we're doing is showing that we're not causing any problems for water quality towards the goals of that plan, which our project will not do that. And then we'll move into quarterly reporting of actually our sampling and our volume. So I actually think we'll be doing more reporting, more frequent reporting, but we will be reporting less information.
From my understanding, the State Water Board changed its, categorizing of certain reports like this. And so we're trying to switch over to report on their requirements. It's something that's initiated by the State Water Board, not by us.
Yeah, and it's the Regional Water Quality Control Board, which I screw those up. I say the wrong one when I'm thinking about the other one all the time myself. But it's the Regional Water Quality Control Board for the Central Coast region that's located in San Luis Obispo, and our project was regulated by a person named Matthew Keeling, who since the beginning of the project in 2001 regulated it as a test project and then a official operating project, and then he has been promoted, and so his workload has been given to more junior members, and the person that's in charge of it now has reached out to us and initiated this process.
Okay, thank you. Mary, could I ask you, do you have any questions before I go to the?
I'm okay. No questions now. Thank you.
Okay. I would like to go out to the public and see if there are any public comments. We'll pause for people to go off mute or whatever. So any comments from the public, please? Any evidence, any movement on the screens? I'll bring it back to the board. I have one question that it says that one of the requirements is to meet a CEQA compliance documentation. Is there a CEQA study related to this, or is it a neg deck? It seemed like it ought to be a neg deck, but is that the nature of the CEQA question?
Yes, there was an EIR that was performed for the Aquifer Storage and Recovery Project in 2007, and we basically give them the EIR, copy of the EIR and the Published Records Clearinghouse number for this component of the environmental impact. So in short, the work's already been done and they just don't have it in their files.
Thank you. I see, if there are no other comments or questions from the committee, pause and see if there is. We can entertain a motion to authorize General Manager to proceed.
Could I please ask, when someone is not speaking, please put your phone on mute. There's a lot of background noise that we're getting. And I'll make a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
And I'll second that.
Motion second. Okay, please call the roll.
Director Adams?
Aye.
Director Evans?
Aye.
Director Riley?
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Move on to item number 3. And to consider entering into a reimbursement agreement with Cal-Am Water and act as lead CEQA agency for the construction of a bypass pipeline to allow simultaneous Pure Water Monterey recovery water and ASR injection water. Are there any questions by the committee on this? Well, let me back up and ask for staff to give a little background, a little more.
Yeah, we'll have John give an overview, and we recognize that Ian Crooks and Chris Cook are both online.
Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, thank you, George. It is in the designing and the planning for recovering of the Pure Water Monterey water that's being injected. It's been recognized that the Seaside system that feeds demand by the wells that produce water out of the Seaside Basin that are connected to the system which moves water around actually Seaside has a limit to the amount of demand that it can consume. However, there are wells, the ASR wells are plumbed into the General Jim Moore pipeline that allows water to be moved through the transfer pipeline, which is colloquially called the Monterey pipeline, to the Forest Lake tanks. When it gets to the Forest Lake tanks, the water that's recovered from the Seaside groundwater basin, it can feed the demand for the peninsula in Monterey and Pacific Grove. Therefore, the wells that are in the Seaside system proper do not have enough annual demand on them to recover all of the Pure Water Monterey water that's going to be injected and all of the native groundwater, let alone if there's water that is banked in ASR. So there is a desire to use the ASR wells and the Seaside system wells to move water around to the Forest Lake tanks for more months of the year than we've been doing currently in order to get that water out of ground. It was identified at that point in time that if you wanted to do that, those would be some of the exact same months if you were within your permitted river flows to harvest water from the river and bring it over to the ASR wells. There is about a little over a mile of pipeline that you would be wanting to move water in two directions. And so you would therefore have to make a decision over the priority of, are we going to move water and inject it for ASR, or are we going to move and stop injecting ASR and move over to recover water from Pure Water Monterey? Because when you inject water from Pure Water Monterey, it writes down your effective diversion limit. So if you don't recover that water, you're putting yourself in a dangerous situation by having to supply the demand on the peninsula from the valley, and while at the same time you're writing down your effective diversion limits. So it was a limitation in the system that was identified that could be solved by placing this pipeline in and giving us the ability to do 2 of the water resource operations at the same time, and the flexibility to operate in that fashion. So I can entertain any questions, and I would like to throw the floor to a CalAm representative to correct anything I said that was wrong.
Hi, John.
Comment?
Yeah, hi, this is Ian. Ian Crystal, CalAm. Yeah, I think John covered it very well, and we support Water Management District pursuing this role. I think it's very important for the peninsula to secure these supplies and flexibility while we are still pursuing desal. So it's an important project to get done.
Who was speaking just now? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is Ian Crooks.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions from the committee members?
I have a question, George. So this is Molly. So how long have is this a new requirement that was just discovered? Because it seems to, I'm surprised that this is it's kind of popped up out of nowhere for me, and I was not tracking the need for a second pipeline. So I was wondering if I might be able to get a little history of how this came about.
This is John. Do you want to answer that, Ian? I think because the way that this came about was CalAm approached the Water Management District with this suggestion.
Sure. Yeah. So the difference is at this time with some desal delays that we're facing, in order to operate the system efficiently and effectively without desal and maximize all the water supplies that we have, this pipeline would help in that regard. Previously, when we had desal coming through the shared pipeline, you had flexibility in terms of ample supply that could be injected and stored. This provides a different means to do so while we do not have desal. So it is a different circumstance in a way than previously under the water supply project. We're looking to maximize ASR while all we have is pure water Monterey sources.
So if I understand you correctly, Ian, is when desal comes online, that we will not be maximizing the other 2 water sources. Is that correct?
No, not quite. It's some of it's related to the ability to inject the amount that we can do through the ASR system and through the Carmel River. But the nice thing about desal was it had ample supply where you could actually inject, when there was excess supplies, you could inject desal water into the Seaside Basin to store it for later reuse. Without desal, we're close to supply versus demand, and therefore we need to maximize all storage that we can do. And also, I can defer to Chris too. Chris can chime in as well.
Yeah, I can chime in if you'd like. Yeah, I think one of the other things, I think John summarized it well, and Ian, thanks for the input. I think, one of the things is that we've kind of changed our requirements now with delays in desal and, likely the next CDO milestone being missed, and there's chances of 1,000 acre foot reduction. So, I've been spending a lot of time looking at operation scenarios that I've been reviewing with John, and I have been going together and looking at, and, in looking at this new scenario of having delays with desal and CDO impacts of that, you look at the options and, you have reduction of ASR injection to be able to maximize water from the north. But if you do that, not only, do you lose multiple areas, which is one is ASR bank that you could have, which is a good thing to have. And then also table 13. So you're further reducing your water availability. So, in looking at the tables, we realize, what you really want to do is be able to maximize that extraction of water to offset Carmel River water, but then at the same time maximize, the amount of water that you can capture or have rights to with the injection. So it creates this kind of dual mode that's actually very nice from an operations standpoint. You have dedicated piping going to the different areas that you need. So it keeps it a little simpler that way too. So I think, Director Evans, to your point, I think it is kind of a new situation we're in that, is, as Ian was saying, if we had stayed on track for desal, it wouldn't have necessarily been an item that we would have had to look at. But I think even regardless with desal, it would provide benefits for more operational flexibility and a simpler system to operate in the long run.
Thanks both Chris and Ian for your explanation, but it's still I still must be missing something, because it sounds like now without desal we need the pipeline, but before, when desal was tracking, you wouldn't need the pipeline. It would just be nice to have. And so now it sounds like you want the pipeline, or we need the pipeline in order to maximize being able to extract pure water Monterey water and inject ASR at the same time. But I don't see how bringing desal online would change the fact that you would still want to maximize your use of the other two water sources. So I apologize if I'm not quite understanding why not having desal makes the pipeline necessary, but having desal makes it not necessary.
George here. Let me ask a related question, and I don't know if this is clarified or not. Is this it's a high priority item? We need to prioritize water that have been improved, ASR and pure water Monterey. Is this driven by the CDO schedule of milestones and likely? I mean, we're going to miss the production milestone, the ultimate one. But the CDO restriction is going to stay in place for the next 4 years, 5 years, some number of years, until a full new water supply is addressed or approved and provided for. Is this largely driven by the CDO?
So yeah, I just sort of took questions, one from Director Evans, one from Director Riley. You have to really get into the weeds of operating the system and how things work. But I mean, in essence, again, desal would provide ample supplies to the peninsula during all times of the year. And what we're facing now is cutbacks with the CDO and a desal delay that could be significant. Therefore, we need to be able to move supplies, the limited amount that we have from the seaside basin, all the way across the peninsula in reverse direction, while at the same time maximizing ASR storage, which is different than having desal. And we spent some time for a while now with John Lear, and we went through all these different scenarios and modeled them. When we looked at everything that was facing us, it was a decision that this is the best way to secure the supplies that we will have available to meet demand. And so that's how we decided that we really need to sort of pursue this pipeline and give us all the flexibility that's needed to maximize our supplies.
So Riley again, the delays in the meeting the CDO requirements is the driving force maximizing the available water sources now. I mean, is that? I think that's what you're saying. The delays, a final solution. So, wow. The ultimate water supply solution. It's the delay that's causing the need for this. I think that's what both of you have said, Ian and Chris.
That's a driver for sure. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So let me a little sense of scale here. What's the cost and what of recovering the cost through payers? What's the timing? What's the process? What's the scale of cost?
Yeah. Yes. So this is just based on costs we had in the past, depending on the details of it. We have not, of course, bid it out yet, but based on prior costs, we're probably looking in the $4 to $5 million range for this project. And it would be, right now, we're treating it as part of the water supply project. So that's how we would handle it. Along with the water supply project as it is, just as a way of reference, we're doing Ryan Ranch Interconnect and Hidden Hills Interconnect. Those were other projects in the rate case that were approved for construction when we had supplies to be able to do so. They're being constructed and underway. And then in the water supply project, we're constructing the Carmel Valley Pump Station already under the water supply project. So we view this as a part of the water supply solution for the peninsula, and therefore that we would seek recovery of this project in due time through the CPUC.
Is this Ian speaking? I'm sorry, I can't see. But
yes, it is. Yes, it is.
All right, Ian. Would this be a new application to the PUC, or is it an addendum process through the CPCN that's already been approved? I'm just trying to get a sense of the timing of getting this done, too.
Right. Yeah. We would move rapidly on this project to get it built, regardless of that outcome or how that procedure would move ahead. These costs would be, as I said, would be incurred by the water supply project as a whole. The same as Carmel Valley Pump Station, which we're building now. They are, and then, I'd have to seek consulting or consultation from my rates folks, but we'd have to develop what is the procedure to recover those costs.
Okay, thank you.
What would
This is Mary.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. George, you had my first question, which was how much would it cost, and my second question was who's going to pay for it. And I want to have a little bit clearer understanding of what you meant by your final comments, Ian. What is the plan? What would the plan be to pay for this?
And that's Director Adams, is it right?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. Hi. Well, of course, all our costs are, recovered through our customers. So the procedure would be to apply to the PUC to recover the costs associated with actually used and useful facilities.
Yeah, I think what I heard, Ian, didn't you characterize this is Dave speaking, as part of the Monterey Peninsula Water Supply Project that was approved in September of 2018? So
That's
it's
right.
already deemed approved. Yeah, so it's already deemed approved. There's no additional application. There will just be an advice letter that would go into effect once the project comes online.
And any other components that we built on the water supply project, like the Carmel Valley pump station.
Right.
Can you remind me how much that cost?
Carmel Valley pump station?
Yes.
The actual, I think, all-in costs, I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but it was in the, I believe in around the, again, about 4 to 5 million.
Okay. Thank you.
This is Director Evans. I have a question. What is the timeline for this? Assuming that this does get approval here and it goes before the board, what would the timeline be for doing the SQL work and then to design and do the construction?
John, our goal, we talked with it through this with John. I mean, our goal is to be able to accomplish this before the next rainy season. So we would like to have this constructed by the second half of this year.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and this is Chris Cook. I just add, for this water year, Pure Water Monterey is coming on halfway through, and we won't have the CDO milestone missed until September. So it's really kind of, the next water years when we need to implement this in terms of operationally meeting limitations on Carmel River and the CDO.
Riley, for another couple questions. The plan is to go down the center. My question is the center of General Jim Moore, or wiggle across the northbound lane back and forth. I understand there are some engineering pieces that'll go on the sidewalk on the one side and sometimes on the median strip. Have I got that right?
It's this is Ian. This is as we're all learning, this is kind of difficult. Some of this stuff remote is I don't know if Tim O'Halloran's on the call, or others that are more in the weeds of the actual routing, but I can't say for certain, Director Riley, what lane we're in or where we're at on the highway or up on General Jim Moore Boulevard. But it is all within the actual paved roadway.
Okay, that was part of my question. Was some of it on the dirt side as opposed to the paved side? And you're saying it's all under pavement?
That's right. It is all under pavement.
Okay. And then the last question I have is the 30-day retention period. I didn't quite follow that. I didn't know, is it a 30-day period that you need to kind of reverse directions or change over? Is that the delay? Is that you say retention, but I didn't quite follow how that applied to this process. I know. Anyway, please.
This is John Lear. I can answer that. That is related to injection of water that has residual chlorine in it. The water goes into the aquifer, and then the chlorine breaks down into a couple different chlorine breakdown byproducts, of which during a time window of about a month to sometimes 6 weeks, it takes for the water to have the disinfection byproducts to be consumed by the microbes that are down in the aquifer and which that point, the disinfection byproducts are below the Title 22 drinking water standards, and the water is then permitted by Department of Drinking Water to be recovered. During the days go beneath the permitted concentrations, the water is being stored and is not permitted to be produced. So without doing some type of moving to some type of dechlorination before injecting the water, if you do not do dechlorination, you must know in your water supply planning that there will be a gap of a month to 6 weeks after the injection season ends that you do not have that source available due to concentrations of disinfection byproducts.
Well, I understand from the two charts, with or without the parallel pipeline, I had a hard time trying to find the differences. But as I looked at the chart in more detail, it seems like in the early winter months, we use more water from the Carmel River, and if I got that right, and less water in the January, February, March period. And it's just the reverse for the ASR water. We use less during the early months and the first 3 months of the winter, and a lot more during the other 3 months of the winter. That's putting more ASR water into the system. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Would you like me to go ahead?
Sure, Chris, you can go.
I was just going to say exactly, Director Riley, exactly what you said. Putting more ASR water into the system is basically the general topic of it, where, if we weren't doing the parallel pipeline, we'd be limiting the amount of time we're doing ASR injection, which in turn would limit our ASR bank in Table 13.
Let me ask if there are any members of the public who would like to comment on this item. Any motion on any of the pictures?
Director Riley, this is Ian again from Killeen. I was just checking again, just to clarify the previous question about routing. Tim, are you online? Can you chime in?
Oh, good.
Yeah. We had text on the side, sorry, and maybe he's not in a position to chat, but he said it's located in northbound lanes.
Say it again, please.
The new pipeline would be located on the northbound lanes.
Okay.
But we can send as a follow-up schematic of the actual routing. So
I have the drawing up, and it's exactly that. It's a northbound lane, and we try and keep it entirely within the lane that's closest to the median, so that when you do traffic control and that kind of thing, you're not taking up 2 lanes.
Good, thank you. Okay, no other members of the public indication to speak. I'll bring it back to the board. I'll bring it back to the committee. Are there other comments at all by the committee members? I think I had my questions answered. So there's a motion. Looking for a motion. Let me scroll down a little bit. Entertain a motion to recommend the general manager to enter into a reimbursement agreement with Cal-Am for the CEQA work for this project, and push this item onto the administrative committee for consideration to put on the board's agenda. So I'm open for a motion.
Did you just make the motion?
No, I'm open to that motion. I was just trying to read what the motion, what the recommendation was.
I will make the motion to send this to the administrative committee.
Thank you. Is
So
there a
a point of
second?
clarification, it's Mary. So sorry.
Yes.
Are we approving this, that we would go into an agreement with Cal-Am to do the CEQA on this, or are we pushing the entire thing to the administrative committee? I thought it was a two-part situation, that we would only be approving that we would go into agreement with Cal-Am to do the CEQA.
Dave, maybe you can help clarify. I'm under the assumption, under the understanding that this is a committee recommendation to proceed and to authorize general manager to have the district provide the CEQA report for this
Correct.
project.
My understanding is that this is only authorizing the CEQA reimbursement agreement.
Yes.
So I think maybe we should have just a clarification of the motion, that this is at this point just to approve the CEQA agreement. That we would do CEQA and get reimbursed from Cal-Am for that.
And I think that is the staff report to do that, and I generalized too quickly on it. So now back to Molly for a moment. Motion to recommend the general manager.
Let me restate the motion then. I make a motion that we recommend this general manager enter into a reimbursement agreement with Cal-Am for the CEQA work to construct the bypass pipeline necessary to allow simultaneous water Monterey recovery and aquifer storage and recovery injection, and move this item to the administrative committee for consideration.
I'll second that.
Thank you.
And just for clarification, that does mean that we would become the lead agency for an addendum to the existing ASR EIR, if approved by administrative committee and then ultimately the full board at the April 20th meeting.
Yes, thank you. Any other comments from the committee? Can we call a roll, please?
Yes, Director Adams,
Aye.
Director Evans,
Aye.
Director Riley.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. The fourth item on the agenda is a report on the plan for responding to the state water. Sorry.
Yes.
Regarding our water right 20808 A, B, and C. Staff report, please.
John, are you feeling you're on a roll?
Sure. So as the staff report says, in early March, we received a letter from the state board referencing the water right that we refer to as 2808B. It is the water, it was the right for the water that was to be behind the new Los Padres Dam had it been constructed. It is also the water right to which we have been removing and making new water rights that are associated with our Carmel River ASR program. Specifically, the letter was referencing 2808B and asking, is there a plan for the construction of the Los Padres Dam? Because there's a petition that is holding the water rights open that says we have a delay in construction. The specific point they wanted to raise in their letter was, do you think this dam will be built? Because if you do think it's going to be built, you have the right petition. If you do not think it's going to be built, you have the wrong petition on this water right, and you need a petition that holds the water right open for beneficial use would be the key for it. In addition, we have the rights 2808A and C, to which we must move forward with perfecting the water right by what they call licensing the water right. We are coming to the close of the period to which we would need to license this water rights. And if we do not do anything, we would technically be held at the highest amount we've been able to divert a calendar year under each of the water rights, which is not the true face value of the water right. So in a conversation that Larry Hampson and I had with the State Water Resources Control Board, we found what their staff recommendation was, and then worked with our staff and management and general counsel to come up with what we think is the path forward for maintaining the water rights we have, as well as future use of 2808B and the potential to move forward with licensing and perfecting 2808A and C. And that path would be to remove the petition for delay in construction for the New Los Padres Dam from 2808B, apply for a permit for delay in beneficial use of water under 2808B, thus keeping the face value of the permit as a goal to do water projects towards. At the time that you identify a water project that could use a portion of 2808B, file a change petition for the project identified, and then move forward with that and assign those 2808B water rights to a new project yet to be identified. 2808C, they would like to move forward in licensing of the water rights and try to make, with evidence that the district is working with Cal-Am in the PUC process to increase the annual yield by adding more sources to the valley, as well as doing other improvements to the system, such as the pipeline we had just discussed, to show that we want to move forward. And because the value, the annual yield we get is driven by the flows and the climate, that we would make the case that we can't show full use, face value use of this water right until we have an extremely wet year. So we would hope that State Water Resources Control Board staff would be able to make a finding for higher than the annual amount that we've been able to do under each of these permits. And if they can, we can move forward with licensing. If they make a finding that is not to our liking, then at that point in time, we can file petitions for extension of time for maximum beneficial use, and then try to have more volume years, thus then moving forward with the license processing later, once we can have an annual actual number that's closer to the face value of the permit on A and C.
Thank you. I have a question, but I don't know if the other members of the committee would have some follow-up questions or clarification questions. My question had to do with, this is a no-cost project because it's really clarifying, I'm sorry, my understanding is that this keeps our maximum flexibility in play. If we don't do anything, we potentially lose some of our flexibility around the Los Padres Dam issue. Is that a fair point of view?
I think that that's a very fair characterization. If we do nothing, our right could be limited.
And we need to do this in order to maintain the maximum flexibility.
Yes.
Is that right?
The downside of doing this is that this does open a 30-day window for a protest. But from my perspective, that the probability that the state board would positively entertain a protest is slight at this time, when we need to maximize this to limit the eventual effect of a CDO.
And long-range needs.
Yes.
Okay, I have no more questions. Any questions from the committee before going to the public comment?
I do not have any
I'm
questions.
good. I'm fine, thank you.
Go out to the public then. Are there any public comments? Can you see any motion on the screen? Okay, assuming there's no public comment, entertain a motion to proceed with this recommendation.
I'll make the motion to receive the report on water rights status and direct the general manager to reply to the State Water Resources Control Board letter with the recommendations from the March 24th call.
And I'll
Terrific.
second it.
Period. Thank you.
Great.
Roll.
Director Adams,
Aye.
Director Evans,
Aye.
Director Riley.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Next item on the agenda in the discussion items. So these are no action items, but we'll go to item 5, an update on the ASR well number 1 rehabilitation.
Yeah, relatively quick as an informational item. John, you and Chris have spoken. You've come up with a plan on that.
Yes, yes. We're trying to, the original plan was to, and this is also relating to recovery of Pure Water Monterey. The original plan was to move, to rehabilitate ASR 1 in this window right now. Right now, there is other construction going on out there. The facility is in different status based on different construction phases for the building that's going in right now and the work that's going on there, that we wanted to take advantage of that and move in to take apart ASR 1, rehabilitate it, and bring it back online so that it could be a source that could recover Pure Water Monterey and put it into the general Ginmore pipeline that could be moved to the transfer pipeline into the Forest Lake tanks. We had come through the committee, got permission, received permission from the board to move forward. I was in talks with the contractors, both Pueblo, who's going to be our construction manager, and Zim Industries, who is hired or who has won the lowest quote. And in the discussions with the window of that we had to work with and how critical ASR 1 is as a source to recover the Pure Water Monterey water, it occurred to us as the team that was the construction management driller and myself that it would be prudent to move forward to Cal-Am with the onset of the pandemic. What we wanted to avoid was taking a well apart, having something interrupt the labor chain or the supply chain, and then not being able to put the well back together as a source to be used. It will be sufficient in its limited capacity that it has right now to serve the purpose of recovering the amount of Pure Water Monterey water that's going to be injected this water year. As Chris had mentioned, it will not be the entire amount. So this well at the capacity it's at will be able to handle that. So it was decided in an answer from Cal-Am that to protect the source, we would use it over the end of this water year to recover Pure Water Monterey. And then at the close of the water year in October, we'd have a clearer idea of what the pandemic was looking like. And it would be safer to move into that in that window and then have it up and running for the next injection cycle.
So basically a deferral, and the Zim Industries has kept their bid open, or will keep their bid open at least through October.
Yes, that's correct.
That was going to be my question.
Just to remind me, what's the cost of the rehabilitation estimate at this point?
I don't have the exact number on my head, but on the top of my head, but it was just under 100,000, and then when you put a contingency on it, it was just over 100,000.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from the committee? Any questions, comments from the public? Thank you for the report. We'll go to item number 6, update on Pure Water Monterey Vado stone wells.
Yep, this will be relatively short. Maureen, are you still with us?
I am. I'm not able to see the internet, but I've got phone and I've got the presentation up on my computer.
Okay, great. So we're on the first slide. For the benefit of the committee, there are 3 types of wells in the Pure Water Monterey injection well field or facility. There are the deep injection wells, there are the shallower or Vado zone wells, and then there are monitoring wells. So this rather graphic is dealing with the Vado zone well number 2. So go ahead on the first slide, and I'll just be your slide turner. Tell me when you're ready, Maureen.
Thank you. March 25th, we arrived at site before 8 a.m. in the morning and saw the sinkhole immediately to the north of the well pad for what we call VZW2 or Vado Stone Well 2. If you go to the next slide, please. We were able to get the geotechnical firm who did the geotech investigation for both Pure Water Monterey and ASR. They were able to come to site the next day, and they brought some equipment with them that allowed us to kind of poke in and determine where the earth was firmer and where the earth was less firm. Working with the contractor, that pink kind of orangish circle you see is the area in which the soil was less firm than what we would like. Our plan at that point was to bring an excavator up, carefully excavate down a couple of feet and fill in whatever we found with native material and gently compact it. If you go to the next slide, slide 3, on March 27th, they began that backfill work, and the picture of the hole you see is on the south side or the opposite side of the pad from the first photos. When they removed the Class 2 base, they discovered a little 3x3x3 cavern, and that was the extent of the failure on that side. Slide 4, please. So the next step forward, immediately on the 25th, when we found the sinkhole, we shut down both wells out of an abundance of caution. We moved, after we did the testing around the first well to create the area that we were going to backfill, we went over to the Vado Stone Well 1B at the other well site, and the soils around that well were found to be very firm. Both Vado Stone wells are fairly far apart from the deep injection wells. Deep injection well and monitoring well stability and performance are not affected by the failure at VZW2. We've got a quote in place with the geotechnical engineer to perform cone penetrometer testing. We received the quotation, the contract's been set up, and I just talked with the geotech firm this morning. They've issued a request to their sub, and they're waiting to hear back on timing for them to come out and determine the stability of the soils down to 100 feet. That will inform us on a couple of different items. One is how stable is that soil? 2, understanding soil stability will help us more completely understand what's going on and be able to design any potential wellhead additional stability should we need that. Are there any questions?
Members of the committee?
No questions for me.
I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm fine too. Any comments from the public? Hearing none, come back to the board for item number 7, suggested items to be placed on future agendas. Dave, I looked at the minutes. I'm looking at them again. That's quite a list from the last meeting a month ago.
Yes, you were very productive.
Well, we're very productive. Now the question is, where do you go with these? I'm just curious if you could just give a little response to the suggestions from last meeting and just say where you think you might be headed or timing or how you might proceed.
Yeah, well, right. So A and B were relatively straightforward. We haven't done B yet. C and D are, there was just some, I think, some desire to be better educated as to just the relationship of how water goes in and out of the Seaside Basin and who the pumpers are and what their different rights are and so forth. D being, again, also just what is Table 13? How does it work? How reliable is it? How consistent is it? So those are just educational items that we can put on the next meeting, or one on the next meeting, one on the next meeting after that. Item E, we have no knowledge of what they're doing and whether there's a work product out there. So we're still kind of investigating what it is we think this item might mean. But that's a long list, but they're all doable.
And not particularly complicated, just a matter of getting us educated. And okay.
Yeah, and we didn't.
Go ahead.
Because we felt this meeting in particular, the 3 action items, but also some of the informational items, we just didn't want to compound this meeting and make it longer.
No, I appreciate that. Any committee member suggestions to add to the list?
I don't have any at this time.
I'm good.
And I'm good too. I just want to remind Dave that I'm still sitting on the return water agreement someday, but I'm still sitting on it. So I'm not even offering it today. You're excused.
Okay.
So for the good of the order, there's nothing more to be said. I will close this committee meeting. Meeting closed.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome.
And I want to applaud everyone. It's so much better than last Thursday's meeting. So thank you, everybody.
Yes, it was.
Well, Dave, just one comment. I want you to check with Jonathan Lear. He had the same problem I did, so he can kind of talk the language that I can't. But I think
we're going to figure out. Yeah, it could have been inadvertent wrong link to a different meeting that's already passed, or we'll figure it out.
Good. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Great.
Stay well. Bye-bye.